Hey everyone, it's Izzy here. Today I want to break down something that a lot of you guys talk to me about or ask questions about, which really just involves leveraging your credit, especially to get into the business credit world, right? So today I have 11 things that you need to understand about credit. That way you can learn how to actually use it for your benefit. A lot of people get online, they hear the horror stories of credit and how bad it can be, trying to navigate it. But again, I just want to set everything in place to know why your credit matters, how you can actually use it properly. And if you guys have any questions, drop some comments down below. Make sure to subscribe. I'm going to drop a lot more content like this because I don't feel like there's as many people talking about credit, especially with the time that we're in. I think a lot of the information that gets spewed on the internet is just outdated information. Some of it is good, don't get me wrong. But again, I just want to keep up with the times so you guys know what to do with your credit to actually take it to the next level, right? So the first thing, it is so much more than just a score. So many people will come out here and say, my credit's a 750, why am I getting denied for funding? When in reality, you only have one or two accounts that don't look that great to lenders, right? If you have a $500 Capital One card and then an auto loan that you've been late on, or, let's say for $750, you're not a late payment, but again, you just open up that auto loan, it's not gonna hold much weight compared to someone that has maybe a 680 credit score, 650 credit score, when they have multiple paid off loans and their utilization is just a little bit high, right? So there's a difference. Understand that lenders care more about the report, not just the score. 2, payment history is king. If you have a late payment on your credit report, you're set back at least 2 years, because a lot of times lenders don't know if they can trust you when they see those late payments on your report, especially if you have multiple late payments. Even one will normally drop your score around 80 to 150 points. I've seen it firsthand for myself when I had late payments, right? So just take care of that. At the very least, make the minimum payment. I know usually it's probably gonna be like a $25, $40 payment. At least make that payment. That way on your credit report, you're gonna have perfect payment history. Even if the utilization is a little bit higher than what you want, you can fix that a lot quicker than getting the late payment removed or just the account removed in general. 3, utilization drives approvals, right? So I know we just kind of touched on utilization. You wanna keep your utilization below 25%, ideally under 10%. Especially nowadays with a lot of people defaulting on loans such as auto loans or even credit cards, you want to make sure that you can keep it below 25%, and again, ideally under 10%, because lenders want to know if you can manage the debt. 4, age of credit matters, because again, back to the previous point, I know we talked about utilization drives approvals. The under 25% is good, but you don't want to have that for so long. What these lenders want to see as well is, can you manage debt for longer periods of time? Because again, if you get a credit card from American Express or Capital One Chase for $20,000, that's great. But if it's only showed up on your statement or on your credit report for 1 month, first off, lenders are going to see it as 1 month of, you just open up a new account. But again, they're going to say, yeah, maybe you have a zero balance on a $20,000 credit card, but you've only done it for 1 month. We don't know what's going to happen here in the future in the next coming months to see if you can actually manage that debt, right? So that's the importance of age of credit, because if you have 5 years of credit history and you've had this $20,000 credit card for 3 years now, that's going to look great, especially if the utilization is low and you have no late payments on it, because it shows that you're trustworthy and you can actually manage that debt. You're not using it to, try to pay bills all the time and not be able to pay it off, all right? 5, this is a huge one, especially when you're getting a car. Quit pulling your credit. Quit having the lenders pull your credit as many times as possible. That way they can get you approved into an auto loan. Especially if your credit's subpar, I understand it, but you also know you're not gonna get favorable rates, and you should probably know who's going to give you that loan, right? It's a Santander, it's a Westlake, it's one of those subprime lenders. But again, you shouldn't be running your credit 5+ times, 10+, 20+ times at the dealership. I've worked with clients that have had 100+ inquiries just getting a car from TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Do not do that. Can you remove the inquiries? Yes, you can, and I think it's very simple. I talk about it a lot, especially with clients that I work with. It's very simple to remove them. There's a strategy behind it, but never listen to people when they say, if you have at least one inquiry that was tied to the auto loan, you can't remove the rest. Yes, you can. I've done it for myself when I didn't do the pre-approvals. 6, authorized user trade lines do help. I think there was a misconception, or at least in the past, it didn't really mean anything if you added an authorized user, because it didn't go into your average accounts of age. But from what I've seen and when I've used it for myself and I've helped other clients get a trade line, it's always showed up on the report. It boosts the average credit age, which looks really good to lenders. Excuse me. And again, it goes back to point 4, age of credit matters. This is how you boost your credit age. Even speaking for myself, when I started getting business credit, I added on 4 authorized user trade lines. And what I did with that was I then was set up properly for obtaining business credit. And I was able to get over $90,000 in business credit for myself, right? So I talk about firsthand experiences a lot because I'm not going to tell anyone about something that I hear on the internet, but I won't do for myself. That's kind of hypocritical, But yeah, authorized users do help. You just have to find a reputable person that will give you an authorized user trade line, or if you find a website or company that offers them, just make sure they're trustworthy. Look for reviews. 7, this is the biggest one of this entire video, and it's going to be business credit starts with your personal credit. Now, before you get all mad and say that there's net 30s and net 60s, I understand that. But in the time that we're in, people do not want to wait 6+ months, 12+ months to try to start building their business credit organically. And along with this, a lot of people say, why do I need to leverage my personal credit to get business funding or business credit? And the answer to that is, if you want strictly EIN only funding, you have to be doing numbers in your business. Typically, from what I've seen, you have to be doing around $1 million annually to get EIN only funding, because if you're not doing those types of numbers, you have no collateral. So what do you have to do? You have to PG yourself. You have to personal guarantor that business product or business loan to actually get the approval. Again, this is why it starts with your personal credit. Because if your personal credit is on par, when you try to apply for business funding and you're PGing it, you're more than likely going to get an approval, and a high limit approval at that, especially if you're going for a business credit card. Right? Now, 8, structure puts you in position quicker. Exactly, especially when you pair it up with an LLC. Now, again, going back to business credit, to set this up strategically, you're going to have an entity in place, and it has to be an LLC, or it cannot be a nonprofit, I should say. You can have the corporations and everything as well, but LLC is just really simple to make. Yes, there's plenty of things like Busy, Inkfile. You can just go on your Secretary of State and do this yourself. Just pay the state filing fee, then go to the IRS.gov and then get your EIN letter. It's very simple. It really only takes 1 to 2 business days. You just have to know what name you want. But going back to the structure point, you need to have a business address. You need to have a business phone number. I have known though that I've realized recently that banks don't necessarily care about the business address as long as it is not a PO box. PO boxes look risky, kind of janky. Whereas if you just put your personal address, and I know not everyone's a fan of that, but if you just put your personal address, they have no problems with that, because it is a physical building or unit or home. So it just makes things a little bit easier for them to know where you're at. 9. So 9 and 10 are a little bit symbiotic. I think they go hand in hand. But relationship banking is leverage. When you go to banks like Chase, Navy Federal, American Express, when you build that relationship with them, they're going to want to give you their products, especially at prime rates. Navy Federal is actually who financed my vehicle outside in my garage. Cool. I banked with them for around 4 months maybe, before I applied for that auto loan. I got the pre-approval instantly. They sent the check the very next day, not even 24 hours. But along with that, you know, their personal lending products are great. Personal credit cards. If you get the secured pledge loan, you get a secured credit card while you're building out your credit. You wait around 5 to 6 months. You're then going to be able to get a $20,000 plus credit card, you know, from Navy Federal with any of those credit cards that they offer, unsecured. So that's, you know, a huge thing. Other banks do it as well. They're going to be more likely to give you a credit limit increase if you're doing right by them. And this goes into number 10. Credit is a tool. It is not free money. I know so many people default on, you know, credit cards or loans. You know, I have before in the past as well. It shouldn't haunt you for the rest of your life, and it shouldn't haunt you for 7 years, honestly. But don't run off on the bank when they give you that credit. It doesn't make any sense. You're gonna just shoot yourself in the foot. You need to have an actual plan when you get the credit. I think this is why people default, because they get it. They say in their head that they know what they want to do. But then when they actually receive, you know, the $50,000 credit card or the $20,000 BLOC, they get excited because, you know, that's a lot of money. Let's not front. That's a lot of money. And a lot of people don't know what to do with it when they get it, right? So they're going to go buy the things that they've wanted, you know, rather than putting their business first. I've done that before as well, right? I'm not perfect. I've messed up my credit multiple times before, but I'm learning from it, and I just want others to not have to worry about that. I want you to skip the learning curve. We should not be, you know, going out and buying Gucci with a business credit card, you know, and saying it's a marketing expense when you can go put, you know, the $800 in a few days for ad spend and make some money, get a positive ROAS out of it, or at least learn from the mistakes on the ads, right? So again, don't run off on the banks. I don't care. And 11, the final one, high limits create flexibility. And when you get that high limit, you're able to, let's say you get a $20,000 credit card. I keep saying that 20 number. I think that's a high limit. Let's say you put $1,000 on it. You know, your utilization is going to be what? 1 divided, you know, 4%. Am I right? Let's see. 5%, right? 5% utilization. Whereas if you have a card that's $5,000 and you're putting $1,000 on, that's 20% utilization. Then when your score refreshes, that statement date comes out, your score is probably going to drop if your utilization is lower than that 20%. Does that make sense, guys? So I just want to make sure you're set up. High limits can give you a little bit of breathing room because yes, we want to pay off our cards. That way we don't have to pay any interest, but life happens, things happen. So when you're able to kind of boost up your utilization or boost up your limits on your credit cards, it's going to help with your utilization. Again, if you have over $50,000 in personal credit, usually you're in a good spot because, you know, a few thousand isn't going to kill your credit profile, right? So, excuse me. Those are 11 things you need to understand about credit. I feel like I touched on a lot of things, but again, if you have any questions about personal credit, business credit, credit repair, credit consulting, or just business funding, simply just drop a comment below. Shoot me a DM or message on any of my social medias. My social medias are Izzy's Mindset across all platforms. But again, I hope I touched on everything. Hopefully this makes sense for you guys. But again, make sure to like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I like this style. I guess I'll give a shout out to Brandon Clark. I'd seen a few videos of him, you know, putting it on the whiteboard. I'm just going over it, and I think, you know, it makes sense. You can visualize it. It's easy to stay on topic. But yeah. So again, if you have any questions, shoot me a DM, drop a comment. I'll see you guys soon.